Hey guys, welcome back to DKTV. I'm DraftKings analyst Geoff Ulrich. This is the lineup review for Week 9 of the NFL season. We're going to be looking at the Week 9 winners lineup from the Millionaire Maker tournament on DraftKings, and also look at a lineup that won a $3 qualifier event to DraftKings Big Live Final. We're going to see what ideas and strategy points we can take from this week's winner and apply them to future contests, and see if we can help us create better lineups in the future. So the winner this week was Skeener917. He ended up taking down the $1 million prize. He won using a Pittsburgh-Oakland game stack. That was his main sort of strategy point that he implemented. He used D'Angelo Williams, he used Antonio Brown, and he used Michael Crabtree, all from the same game. Two Pittsburgh offensive players, which I thought was really interesting. He targeted two good offenses in general. The Raiders and Pittsburgh both have great skill players. Both teams capable of putting up 30-plus points, and the game had a high over-under of around 48 to 49, I believe. So targeting this game, I should say, made a lot of sense. Targeting both offenses made a lot of sense. And he really targeted the most heavily used players on both sides. So if shootouts happen, it's usually these sort of heavily used players that sort of go off for fantasy. So D'Angelo Williams getting all the carries right now in Pittsburgh. There's no backup running back really there. And then Antonio Brown, great history of getting 10 to 15 catches a game. Always good for 100 yards, it seems, with Ben Roethlisberger. So I really like using those two. We mentioned it last week. It's okay to use an RB and a wide receiver from the same team when both are getting heavily used. So targeting the main sources of a team's offense. Similar situation in Atlanta. We kind of mentioned this last week too. It's okay to do that, though, especially for tournaments. And then with Michael Crabtree, you got a really big discount this week. Guy who's leading Oakland in red zone targets, and he's very cheap. I really like using Michael Crabtree with these two, playing both sides of the game really smart. So the second kind of stack, the second kind of strategy point we take from this lineup, he also used the Titans. He used Marcus Mariota, and he used Delanie Walker, and he also used the Eagles at defense. So he used value plays at these two positions, which I thought was really smart. He played the matchups rather than going for a big-name quarterback like Tom Brady or a big-name defense like the Denver Broncos. Marcus Mariota, Delanie Walker had a great matchup this week versus New Orleans Saints. Just as much upside as any other QB this week, I think. Really, in general, too, the big-name quarterbacks haven't been outscoring the lesser names every week this year. So Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, and even Drew Brees outside the last couple weeks, they've been outscored a lot of the times by Mariota, by guys like Blake Bortles, by guys like Derek Carr. So I think it was really smart to go value at this position. Also use the Eagles, who had a really good matchup. Targeted Matt Castle at quarterback, which I thought was great. He's turning the ball over a lot, threw another pick six in this game. Eagles, one of the higher scoring defenses in general, have good special teams. You don't always need to play elite players at quarterback and defense. It's okay to play matchups. It's a good place to go for savings, and I think that's a really good strategy that the winner used this week, and I think it's something you can use in the future too. Look for those good matchups at quarterback. Look for those good matchups with your defense. So one of the way he implemented his savings this week was that he paid up at wide receiver. So he not only used Antonio Brown, who was expensive, he also used Julian Edelman. More targets for big-name wide receivers when the games get crazy. When the games get crazy, I should say, they're usually the ones who blow up. So the PPR points, they accumulate pretty quick on DraftKings. You get 1 point per reception. It's a little bit better value than going for an RB who only gets yards when he's getting carries. Edelman didn't blow up this week, but he's someone who always gets 8 to 9 targets a game. It's very solid. And remember, the NFL is really a passing-oriented league right now, so those wide receivers in general just have more potential. So let's take a quick look at the $3 qualifier winner. This was Ace Hink 1. He also used a big game stack from the same game, Pittsburgh and Oakland. He used Ben Roethlisberger with D'Angelo Williams and Antonio Brown and Michael Crabtree. So he used a running back, wide receiver, quarterback stack from the same team. And I think this is fine. I think this is a great way to really target a game. Make sure you get exposure to all the points. So if a game goes crazy, you're going to have exposure to all those skill players, all those players on the Pittsburgh side who got the points. I think this is a great way to target tournaments myself. It's a little bit volatile, but when the game goes off, you're going to shoot up sort of over your competition, so to speak. So he filled his roster out with Mike Evans and Jeremy Langford. Again, went with a value play at running back, which I think was smart. Jeremy Langford in a great spot to get a lot of targets and a lot of carries with Matt Forte out. And then using Mike Evans, again, a big name wide receiver. He was essentially the only receiving target for Tampa this week. Had a great matchup too against a weaker secondary in a projected pretty high scoring game. I believe the game total there was 48. So again, paying up for wide receiver, going for value, it works, and I think it worked great out for these two lineups. So this week we talked about the importance of game stacks and tournament lineups and how you can go about creating an effective game stack. Make sure you're targeting those big name, high volume players if you're creating a game stack. So this week, D'Angelo Williams, Antonio Brown. It's okay to use an RB and a wide receiver from the same team if they're both getting a lot of work. We also talked about the advantage of using a cheap quarterback and a cheap defense. You can play the matchups of those positions and get a lot of savings. Don't always have to pay up for the big names. And also, it's important that you do sort of pay up for wide receiver a lot. Those are the guys who are getting a lot of targets, and in shootouts, they're often the ones who are going to get you a lot of points. So paying up for wide receiver, never a bad choice either. So make sure you subscribe to DKTV. Make sure you check out the Monday Night Sweat Show every week on DKTV. They have potential Millionaire Maker winners on as the game is going on. It's great entertainment. They're crowning $1 million winner every week. My name's Geoff Ulrich. You can find me on Twitter as @TheFantasyGrind. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Good luck in Week 10. We'll talk to you guys next week.